Happy New Year to you. I think we got eight listeners right now. And I'm so happy for that. Not really. I'd love to have like 1,000 more. But we getting there. One a year.
One a year. So
if we do it between now until like 2097, shoot, we on our way.
Yeah. Eventually.
Take after take. Patrick Akers, producer Pat, Carl Prather. We're not going to talk any football or anything whatsoever the first 10 minutes of this because we want to talk about our holidays. And everyone should have enjoyed their holidays. It was fantastic. Kind of nostalgic. You can kind of, reminisce, shed a few tears, just being thankful for what you have, all that good stuff. Patrick, he was down bad. You feeling better now?
I'm feeling better. My entire family got sick, and then
everyone
finally
has the flu.
It made it around to me. Yeah. Everybody's got it.
Ooh, doggy. I dodged it all. I got a sinus infection probably like 2 weeks before Christmas, 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas, but it was literally me outside in my own yard with like stirring up grass and stuff because I was putting like Christmas decorations outside. So I wasn't even around anybody, which is the crazy part. But I say everyone. The majority of people I've like been in contact with from afar, everyone has been sick.
It's like that little super flu thing that's going around.
Super flu, man. And I got a flu shot, but then they allegedly they said that it was only for flu B. And everyone's getting flu A.
Flu A. Yeah.
I'm gonna start concocting me some stuff out here, man. I'm gonna give me some water. Give me some I don't know. Put an adult beverage in there, mix it up, inject it. See what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that
you
can happen?
still can get it.
Patrick, how was the holidays though, man? Kids happy? Everybody get what they needed?
Oh yeah, everybody got what they wanted, and of course, us being dads, we got socks, underwear, staple.
Man, I told you I buy my own stuff. I just buy stuff like leading into Christmas. I just get my stuff before Christmas, and then let Blake and Lindsay they get the Magic Kingdom and all that good stuff. He got a 3D printer, bruh. We got 17 dragons in that house right now, 17 of them. He got a 3D printer. He got an electric dirt bike. Listen to this. Now I had to ride it. Now I crashed in the road of our subdivision. I got video of that. I'll show it one day. Crashed like right in front of a car. Should have got ran over. However, it goes 5, 10, 15 miles per hour. I went to 15. It was amazing.
Yeah. Drove
down, braked. Then I want the bike to slide up under said car, so I hopped off the bike and fell down to the side and held onto the handlebars so it didn't go up underneath. It was a whole thing. If I used to love America's Funniest Home Videos, I know I would have won the money.
Oh, America's Funniest Home Videos is still a hit.
It's still on?
Oh yeah.
Is Alfonso Ribeiro still doing it?
Yeah, still doing it.
Man, I may turn that video in.
It's good. Kids love it.
I'd win.
Yeah.
I probably will. I'd be a finalist at least.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I'll show you this. You could be like, bro, what's wrong with you?
Is that what you say would happen to the Alabama Crimson Tide over the holidays? Is that they also crashed on a dirt bike?
Boy, look at that segue here. Boy, look, you see this?
Perfect.
Perfect
segue.
Before we even get into the segue, see, this is a changed man, United States of America, and all of our continents and the intergalactic whatever. This man is. I told you he's been in a small transformation. You're going to see him eventually video-wise here soon. We got some really cool stuff going on in the studio. The man's got a part in his hair. He's got product in his hair. Really nice sweater, slacks, boots so shiny you can see him in Nashville. Amanda, you done did good. You done got that man right.
The wife hates the boots. I love them. So let's let that be known.
Well, see, you were winning until you had to say that just to throw that shot out there.
No.
You know she's going to listen to this.
Oh, yeah.
And then okay.
Stitch Fix said that these are good boots.
You better come on, Stitch Fix.
And that this fit the rest of my stuff. It was good. I like it.
Said all the kids.
A little overpriced, but it works.
You believed who would win the college football playoff. I picked Georgia. You picked?
I think I also picked Georgia.
Also picked Georgia. We'll get to that game and go through the rest of the games. Obviously, we have to start with so much going on with the first round of the playoff, going into the quarterfinals. And then, of course, we have coming up Thursday and Friday, we have our semifinals. Alabama loses 38-3. To say I was shocked, I wasn't. I personally thought that Alabama would lose to Oklahoma, a play here or there. Oklahoma wins the game, most notably the 4-5, throw over the top, 24. Robinson could have caught the football, it would have been 24-0. Game would have been over, in my humble opinion. I digress. They gutted it out, won that game, but this would have been the shock of all shocks for me. Not the Florida State. This game would have been the shock of shocks if they were to win this game. The best team won. The most complete team won. This game wasn't competitive. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a soapbox rant type. For the last 2 years that we've had this podcast, or a year and a half, I have said ad nauseum, am I right or wrong, Patrick? College football fans as a whole need to recalibrate their minds and understand this is not college football of the 90s, the 2000s, or the 2010s. Quit looking at these logos and pretending said logos are good enough for said logo to win games. Not happening. Brands matter. Alabama matters. Ohio State matters. Michigan matters. Notre Dame matters. They do. They're brands. We get it in college football lore. All I know is that team from Bloomington, Indiana, no star guys, 1-star guys, 2-star guys, and 3-star guys. It's amazing how when you have been able to go to other universities and then come together for a common goal and are able to accomplish said goal, that you have a lot of success. Football players are football players. And going back to the recalibration of said mind for college football fans, I love 247 Sports. I love On 3. I love Rivals. I love following high school football recruiting the best I possibly can relative to what we do. Stop looking at these damn stars and going and understanding what your program is doing as far as getting football players. Get over it. Help me out. In what world is any college football fan worth their salt going to believe that Alabama's roster was not more talented with their stars than Indiana? Help me out. You all are listening. You're driving. You're going to be listening to this sometime this week. It's not as important as what we were accustomed to in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s. Yes, talent matters. But you know what else matters? Experienced talent. And talent that are able to adapt and play in said scheme, said or system and or philosophy to maximize said potential. A whole lot of guys out here got 5 stars. You go into these regional camps and stuff, getting these stars, all this stuff. And listen, there are thousands and thousands of men and women that are a part of these recruiting services that are awesome in getting these young men recognized for recruiting services and coaches to kind of keep an eye on, the whole nine. Greatest equalizer, as we all know, shouldn't be any kind of surprise to anyone. Transfer portal. I can change my roster in a matter of months and be more than competitive and reach the playoff. If you do not believe me, just go look at the program in Bloomington, Indiana the last 2 years. If you don't believe me, how about Kirk Cinetti and where he was previously? There's this group in James Madison that he helped build the building blocks to what Bob Chesney was able to do. Whether you like it or not, whether rules apply to them or not, you were able to reach the playoff. Bob Chesney has now went on to UCLA. You have a former coach at Florida that is now the new head coach at said James Madison. I say all of that to say this notion that fans can't get out of their heads that you see script A, white numbers on crimson helmet, can't be dominated, blown out, defeated, whole nine by said irrelevant program, in your opinion, for the last 60 years. They're one of the worst. They were winning percentages awful relative to the last couple of cycles with them. I'm from right outside the Louisville area, from Shepherdsville, Kentucky. I've been to Bloomington, Indiana, watched football games there. I've watched football games when they played Kentucky over the years. I can only remember, I believe, one winning season under Coach Bill Mallory that they've had. They've had some good players over the time, but there's a reason why they haven't been to the Rose Bowl in the 60s. There's a reason why they hadn't beat Ohio State since 1988 or whatever it may have been. I'm going to say this again. Pat, I'll let you go. Please, for the love of college football, start recalibrating your mind and understanding. This ain't 2002. This ain't 1992. If you are a P4, which will be a P5 once the Pac-12 comes back this upcoming season, if you're a program and you're able to have powers that be that have a vested interest in college football, you have the potential and or opportunity to win at a high level, i.e. 8, 9, 10, 11 conference championships, college football playoff berths, and eventually, whether it's this year or in the near future, I personally believe a non-traditional, non-powered, quote-unquote, branded program will bring home a national championship, because you'll look on that roster and you'll see guys from Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa State, guys that have played 3 years of football, fifth-year guys, and they'll win a national championship. Remove it from your minds, college football fans. This ain't what you think it is relative to the last decade plus heading into 2023, 2024, and beyond. It ain't going to happen. It has changed. Still matters. Players want to play at branded schools. But I say this, everyone is able to spend some squadoosh to get you to come there. And whether you want to believe it or not, and I hope that you know this, there's some universities out here in the United States of America that may not have had a lot of success on the gridiron, that if you round up 2 to 5 players that are building academic buildings on said campus and want to invest in the football program, can change like that. So I'll let you go.
I mean, we saw it with Indiana and Cignetti. This is a 2-year thing, and they're one of the Final Four, and they are the favorite right now to win the national championship. It is kind of, I mean, I don't know how you can call it. Basically is an end of an era, right? And sort of the launch of a new one. It doesn't get more stark than one of the losingest programs in college football history beating one of the most prestigious in a drumming. It wasn't even close. 38-3. And I love what Cignetti said after in his postgame presser, where the reporter said something to him along the lines of, how did you get your guys to not let this moment be too big for them and come away with a win? And he was simply just like, why should it be too big for us? Because we're Indiana. And I think a lot of these coaches have gotten fired from these organizations because the boosters and the leaders of the universities have looked at what Cignetti has done in Indiana and been like, well, that's Indiana. Why can't James Franklin, why can't you do that? Why can't all of these other Billy Napier, why can't you do that? Like this 18 months, this team has turned everything around. They're one of the Final Four. They're one of the best programs in the country in Indiana. If he ends up winning the national championship, I don't know how you can look at this and be like, this is not the greatest, if not one of the greatest 2 years in coaching that we have ever seen across any level of sport, really, not just college football. I mean, you take it to any kind of level of sport. I think he's done a masterful job. I think that, obviously they have guys like Mark Cuban that are bankrolling that. So I think if you're a university and you can have a billionaire to bankroll some stuff, that is the way to go about it. That is probably the inhibiting factor for a university like Alabama, is that this state just doesn't have a lot of billionaires. It doesn't have oil money the way that Texas has oil money. It doesn't have tech money the way that some of these other schools have tech money. So this might be a problem for them going forward. Now, they are still Alabama. They are still the Southeast, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana. This is the hotbed for, high school football. A lot of talented players come from this part of the country. But I do think it is going to be tough for not just Alabama fans. I think SEC fans in general, the Georgias of the world. Some of these other ones, like the playing field has been leveled. And so, I mean, we'll see what happens. Ole Miss is still in this thing too, which, that's what a great story that is.
Their quarterback was playing at Ferris State a year ago. How about this? Said quarterback at Trinidad Chambliss didn't even start the year. It had to take an Austin Simmons injury for you to get in said game. You go as true serum to said coaches, Lane Kiffin and his staff. They get the kid, found the kid on, somebody called something on social media, found the kid, couldn't throw from me to you in camp, and started getting better and better and better and better. So, like, I do want to mention, and there's a couple of caveats to what I'm saying with Trinidad. The great thing about college football and college football coaches and programs that are worth their salt, don't ever let anyone say they don't beat and pound the quote-unquote pavement to go try to find football players. I always say this, the one thing that made Nick Saban so great, one of the myriad of things is, Nick Saban will go find guys that kind of may not elite players, but guys that fit roles. Go back and look at some of those early recruiting classes of some of those 3-star kids and some of those guys, the Mark Barons of the world and Rashard Johnson that was a walk-on. Like, guys can fit roles, right? And you can be able to scout, identify those. That's why you have player personnel. That's why like Nick Saban was like one of the first in the 2010s to have just huge amount of coaches and coach, basically a room just for personnel guys. That's all they did all day, just going to find personnel. And that's why you find so many universities and programs now doing, just that. But I do want to go back to something, and a caveat when we're discussing Indiana. The very first thing that I'm excited about is, let's just say for the sake of argument, they do win the national championship. They win it, Patrick. It's a copycat, we say in the NFL, copycat league. College football, there will be programs that are on the ascension or kind of looking from afar that's going to study out Indiana, right? How did you do this? What made you successful? Why said players infused into your program to fit said scheme defensively and offensively? Why are you able to maneuver in a way within the transfer portal, all while adding high school talent to be able to win football games? They've had an unbelievable start to the transfer portal heading into the 2026 season. Josh Hoover is coming from TCU. You got Nick Marsh, who's a really good wide receiver from Michigan State that's coming there. Kansas State, a defensive end that can get after the quarterback. But the other part about that is, too, this notion that programs in college football, especially at the P4 level, can't compete for national championships relative to, as I mentioned, parity, to me is borderline and is basically asinine. I said this last year, and I said this going into this football season, Patrick. The excuses that programs, whether you're in the Big Ten or SEC, Big 12, ACC, that were built in on, we ever do scholarships, we don't have the horses and or the cachet relative to wins traditionally that kids want to come there. Can't say that anymore. Because if I'm Wake Forest, if I'm Indiana, if I'm Northwestern, relative to the academic standards and being able to maneuver and maybe kind of finagle with your admissions and stuff a little bit to not disrespecting your academics there, but being able to get kids in that may not be able to fit the academic mold that you would like. Vanderbilt, Utah, BYU, Colorado, they're boosters are boosters. Have a hard time believing there are not some millionaire boosters. Hell, Michigan's a prime example. Then we talked about Bryce Underwood when he signed.
Yeah.
Larry Ellison's girlfriend, wife, boo thing, whatever it may be, she just looked over him and was like, I love Michigan football. That man's a graduate of Illinois. I don't see him giving, I don't know what he's giving to the Fighting Illini. He may have. This girl said, boo thing, I want this quarterback. Can you get him? Cool, no problem. Boom, $10 million. What?
Yeah.
We college football programs, and it's fine. Just say what you want to be. And it's okay with me. I think we're in a world because it's the college football playoff or bust. And it's a catch-22. said fan or said alumni of a university can't cry if you're not competing and winning 9+ games and saying that you're competing for college football playoff berths if you're not putting in the work to be able to make things happen behind the scenes. Who in the hell thought Texas Tech 36 months ago was going to be a player, not only in the Big 12, but the college football playoff? They've had some great moments in their program history. Some great throws of the quarterback, great quarterbacks that could throw the football, put up a ton of numbers. Cliff Kingsbury over back in the day. I believe they reached number 1 in the country in the 2000s. Michael Crabtree, the whole nine. It can be done. No one's disrespecting any of these universities. But I bet you if you ask Cody Campbell and you ask Larry Ellison if he cares about football, if you ask some of these boosters, Mark Cuban, who loves Indiana athletics, those same boosters that were funding the fund for academia, now they're looking around like, oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of would like our football team to be worth a damn. And funneling assets and resources to said programs, you don't have an excuse. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey, we can't compete, when in this day and age of college football, it has shown you that the door is as open as ever for you to be highly successful and have an opportunity to have a seat at the table to contend for a college football playoff berth.
And these leashes for these coaches are going to get shorter and shorter.
Correct.
Because these boosters are going to look around and say, we've given you a $20 million payroll. You can't win 7 games.
And that's a great point. And you led me right into this. Here's another caveat. That was the other caveat I was looking for. There are some universities within the SEC. I'm just going to say it. There's some programs within the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. They have all of the finest meats and cheeses in place for you to be able to be successful. But some of these boosters stuff need to get the hell out of the way too. You need coaches to be able to let them do their thing and not the meddling and being your own worst enemy. You may be a fan of SEC programs. You know who they are. Big 10, you know who they are. ACC, you know who they are. Hell, FCS, you know who they are. Your boosters can also be a detriment to your program if you don't allow your coaches to do your thing. Now, coaches, as I mentioned all the time, the biggest reason why you are hired and fired relative to your acumen is your ego. Some coaches out here won't relinquish play calling. Some coaches won't even show up and talk to their quarterbacks in quarterback rooms. Some coaches want to try to install plays, the tail end of game week during walkthroughs. I don't throw anything. You can fill in the blanks. You know where they are. People love college football. You can fill it in across the country. But there are also universities and programs that their boosters and their quote unquote dollar people are not allowing their coaches in these universities to function as a functioning college football program from the ground level to try to be able to house a perennial winner. That's part of it too. So yes, it's a finite line to walk down to try to develop yourself. And there'll be 5 years from now, quote unquote, case studies of how this is possible for you to be able to reach the college football playoff, all while trying to manage a transfer portal, all while trying to manage a pot of money from a quote unquote glorified salary cap with your NIL and boosters and the whole nine. But if there's ever a time in college football, Patrick, that a program has an opportunity to enhance their profile on the gridiron with wins and reaching unprecedented heights, there's no better time than now to do that. And we have enough proof around the country to say as such. So me personally, it's not even a story with Indiana. Indiana told you this story a year ago. Hell, if Rourke didn't have a bad will, I don't know what that game would have looked like in South Bend early on. But once again, and it's human nature. You see that emblem on their helmet. You think they had no business being in the college football playoff last year, and then they'd have made it this year, and they're more than likely going to be highly capable of making it next year. At some point, you have to say to yourself, yeah, there's some changes that we need to make, or give credit where credit is due. And Indiana has been fantastic. We mentioned it earlier this year, a couple of months ago, just being able to watch. I think I watched 8 of their games, and had some friends over for New Year's Day leading into the game, and everybody's like, man, I think Alabama's going to win this. I just think they're just better. I was like, in what world? I said they're about, and this is no disrespect to, I have the utmost respect for Alabama and their former players and their current players. And Coach Kalen DeBoer, I think, is one of the most elite coaches in all of college football. Patrick, this was not going to end well. And I could have been 100% wrong, been the first to come here and tell you. Much like I thought Georgia was going to win the game against Ole Miss. I just didn't see I didn't see multiple paths to victory for for Alabama, unless Indiana murkied the water.
And they just haven't done that to themselves all season.
Patrick, just for stats coming into the game, and I leaned into this. Patrick, they're top 10 in offense, total offense, and total defense. I believe my memory serves me correctly. I think they're 8th in total offense, 4th in total defense. Brother, they gave up coming into the Alabama game 77 yards a game, and they only gave up 5 rushing touchdowns all year. Now help me out. I think Ohio State has a pretty good offensive line. One of the better ones in college football. Bo Jackson came on late for them. Going to be looks like a future stud for them coming into the next year. Help me out. What? Oregon likes to run the football. Stymie that. At some point, you just have to recognize what the numbers and what the tape tells you. And for me, I just didn't see Alabama being capable of winning the game unless they played above their skis. Indiana played abnormally bad, if that makes any sense. Also want to touch base on Fernando Mendoza real quick. You remember when we started our podcast, I said once Indiana lost that first-round playoff game to Notre Dame a year ago, and when they acquired Fernando Mendoza, I said they got a chance to do this all over again, just with that piece, integral piece. I knew they were going to be able to kind of continue to help the lines of scrimmage. I think that guy maybe throws it 20 to 22 times a game. Won the Heisman Trophy. But you know what makes him so great? He's efficient, plays within said scheme, doesn't try to play above said skis, and now he's going to make $30 million in a couple of months and be one of the top 5 players taken in the draft. You know why?
He's going to Vegas. He's going to be a Raider.
He's going to be a Raider.
First pick.
Okay. And won the Heisman Trophy where his team runs it 60% of the time. There were a number of times in the first 5 drives of that contest that Fernando Mendoza, and you can go back and watch the tape, where Alabama was right. Kane Womack was right. And normally a quarterback maybe that is not as experienced as him, and even the most experienced quarterback makes mistakes. You're going to throw picks. It is what it is. Instead of forcing something, used his legs. What I like about Fernando is he's an instinctive runner. He's not going to wide. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Damon Williams. But he's an instinctive runner. He has great feel on the football field of where he needs to go to manipulate said pocket and escape pressure and elevated pressure to get to where he needs to get to and move the chains. 2 key drives early in the first half, in the second quarter, I believe they end up scoring. Charlie Becker caught the deep post for that first touchdown. Remember, he escaped pressure and moved the chains, where he probably could have thrown a pick to Bray Hubbard. Bray Hubbard had a guy covered, middle of the field, pumped it, escaped out of pressure, got the first down. Those are the type of things that make that guy really good. I think he can play. More than worthy of being a Heisman Trophy winner. But this, Patrick, there are a lot of college football programs that, from an offensive and defensive standpoint, they got a book thicker than the cheesecake menu of all these plays. All they elaborate. We can bring pressure here. We can red dog here. We can blitz here. We can stun here. We can twist our defensive lineman here and all that. Hell, last time I checked, does Indiana do anything that you all see that's next level, otherworldly? Run the football, punch you in the face, 2 backs that are undersized, get downhill quickly, wide receivers that don't drop anything. And the defense says, do your job. We all play together as a team. And the reality is, there's a reason why they're undefeated, and there's a reason why they're still playing football, one of 4 teams left in college football in the college football playoff.
And again, made up a roster of a lot of guys who have played a lot of games. And I do think that if you are going to see any trend that people are going to copy from Indiana, it's just going to be maybe that. Like, why are we getting these 17, 18-year-old kids to come in that we try to develop? Like, can we not just go to the portal and get a dude who played at a smaller school? Fernando Mendoza, this was his second full year starting. I think that might be what you see going forward. I would anticipate. I mean, there are not a lot of true freshman starters at big name programs anyway. Every once in a while you get the Caleb Downs of the world. So it's just Jeremiah Smith. I just think you're going to see a lot of programs build dudes off fourth and fifth year seniors.
I think here's the thing. It shows you how amazing these guys, these true freshmen are. Go look at Malachi Corley, folks. I don't know if you all know this. Malachi Corley, arguably one of, if not Miami's best player outside of four. That guy reclassified. That guy should be a high school senior.
Yeah.
And from game one has shown he is one of the most dynamic players in all of college football. So that's why it's impressive when you see a guy like that, or Caleb Downs, or Minka Fitzpatrick back in the day, or you see some of these true freshmen make an impact the way that they are. But truth be told, there's a reason why a lot of true freshmen don't play at this level. It's because it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's really hard. There's a reason why we have not had a true freshman quarterback win a national championship since the late 80s with Jamil Holloway at Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts had an opportunity to do it in his freshman year, but it's hard, man. It's hard to do. It's hard to be an interior defensive lineman when you're going against a guy that's played 60 games in 2 years, that's strong as an ox, and you're trying to push him against his will. Or you're on the opposite side of that offensive line, and you got a absolute swamp thing breathing down your neck and bull rushing you, and you're trying to hold your stance while he's dragging you backwards for you to kind of protect said quarterback. It's hard. Running backs, it's easier. A freshman can run. What about pass protection? So I'm not used. Someone's going to be able to balance out, which I believe that Georgia's doing a pretty solid job at, but there's still truth to be told as we move forward in the next couple of years of who is going to be able to master this new world of roster management, roster retainment, how you're able to use said portal, piecemeal and put guys that can help you on your two deep, all while still trying to recruit the best prospects you possibly can that can fit what you want to do. Players are players, man, and you got to have them. But this notion that you go to insert recruiting service camp in insert city to find and load your roster, those days are gone. You still need it. That needs to be the foundation of your program. But in this day and age, I can go get me 16 guys, man, and they could instantly change my life. Go look at Kentucky. Go look at Arizona State. Go look at Florida. Go look at some of these programs out here. Go look at Missouri. Cats are out here trying to infuse talent quickly that I don't have to, quote unquote, develop, but I can adapt to my scheme to be able to hit home when I need to hit home. That can in turn win the games for you, and in turn get you to some unprecedented heights that you may have not been there before as a program.
Yeah, and you got to look at every level of football too. Division, FCS.
Who knew, Patrick? Did you know there was good football players at the FCS level? Did you know there was good football players at the D2 level, D3 level? Missouri Tiger fans, if you're out there, college football fans in Southeast Conference. Didn't Missouri a couple years ago, outside of Ahmad Hardy, didn't they have Cody Schrader? Didn't they have Schrader? D2 running back? Went crazy. Stretch zone, the whole nine, like duo. Football players, you can find them anywhere. And now coaches and personnel, which they've done for eons, they're now for real kicking the tires and pounding the pavement and finding guys that fit. And you will see programs, whether you are a brand or not, continue to understand, and it's about how you can impact my schematics offensively, defensively on the football field to make it work. I don't give a damn about a star. You can be a 93 star. I don't care. Composite, whatever. It's fun to look at. It's awesome. Much like preseason polls. They're awesome. You get us excited, put names with faces. But at the end of the day, I got a team in Indiana that has now proven that they can line up and road grade the best of the best in college football. And it was super impressive, super impressive. A couple of other games, obviously, within the quarterfinal. Miami has continued to play well and show why they deserve to be in the college football playoff.
And this is the best case scenario for everyone that was against expansion.
Including the ACC.
Yeah. You get to 12. There's been some of these fringe teams who, if they get hot, we've seen them in the NFL. They have talent. They can go all the way. Miami might be the most talented roster in the country.
They went 24-14. Ole Miss, we mentioned, winning 39-34. It appeared that Georgia was going to run away with that game 21-12, especially at the half after the missed field goal.
Game.
So let's dive really quick into the Georgia Ole Miss. We talk about a lot of college basketball guys that can just be takeover guys. I always like to call college football guys, I used to say impact, but I like to call college football players that, what I'm about to say, I just call them erasers now. And when you watch Trinidad Chambers and the things he's able to do, he reminds me of so much of a kind of a throwback college football quarterback, because there was when you had a dynamic guy at that position, it just changed everything. Like, I remember, for those, I'm old, 43. I remember watching Charlie Ward in the early 90s and running the no huddle and kind of being a point guard on grass. And this is what Trinidad Chambers reminds me of. The way he can roll protection, the way he can make plays running the football, he can throw on a dime. A true point guard on grass. And you all saw it. There was about a 3-play scenario there in a pair of drives that you were just like, this guy is legitimately took over the game by himself. They don't have Trinidad Chambers. They don't win. This is not close. But when you got an eraser, you can hang around a little bit. You got a hell of a guy in Pete Golding and belief. Now, Kiwa Lacey's dark good. We're not acting like they don't got players. They got them. But when you got that dude, that changes the game. It was an incredible game. In no world did I think heading into the second half that Ole Miss would win the game relative to what I saw the first 2 quarters. And even then, Gunnar Stockton showed why he is worthy of being one of the very best quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference. Led them down to tie the game.
I thought he died after that hit. I was like, I don't know how he got up from that.
The dude's tough, right?
Tough dude.
And then here comes Trinidad.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. It was probably the best college football playoff game we've had.
Yeah, it was the best one.
Yeah.
It was the best one.
I mean, you talk about all the storylines going into it, too. I mean, Pete Golden and Ole Miss and all these things with their Lane Kiffin that's kind of galvanized that unit. I mean, it is just special. Pete Golden, too. Lane Kiffin never won a playoff game. Pete Golden got 2 of them, first 2 head coaching starts. And, again, I think you saw from kind of Kirby's post-game presser, I think there are a lot of coaches around the country that are looking at what Pete Golden is doing and just have a ton of respect that he's been able to keep this thing together, because they had every excuse to get blown out.
Every one of them. Every one of them.
He's kept this entire unit not only together but still believing that they can go out and compete. And they are a true Cinderella story in every kind of sense of the word. If we end up with an Indiana Ole Miss national championship game, it's really going to, I think, tear the heartstrings of a lot of people, myself included, because I think both of those programs just those are my 2 kind of favorites as we kind of move forward here.
Think about this. I just want you to hear this stat line from Trinidad. 30 for 46, 362 per throw, 7 right at 8 yards a clip. 2 TDs, no interceptions against that group. 90 QBR. Lacey goes for 98, 2 tuds, 4.5 yards a carry, only 22 carries. Harrison Wallace, $156 and a touchdown. John Stribling, 122. It was just impressive to watch because, as you mentioned, you're somebody like Pete Golding, you have every opportunity to be like, circumstances they may be, But give him credit. Coaches that are going to stay at Ole Miss, kind of there alongside the coaches that are at LSU, so they kind of saw what this looked like all while they're getting ready for this, which is really cool. So they're prepared, whether Charlie Weiss was going to be there or not, and they're going to go out there and try to reach a college football national championship, which is – here's one thing I will say about Ole Miss that really has changed for me. You know, we always talk about Lane Kiffin, as great as an offensive mind as he is. It's all because they miss a little toughness, right? They ain't missing that with Pete. I've watched on said field with Lane and Ole Miss talk a lot of talk, but when face gets caved in, fall back and fold like an old leather chair. This group, obviously being down 21-12, had every reason to be like, especially at the half when you don't get a field goal off, or, you know, time management, that's part of it because there's a lot of people involved in this thing trying to piecemeal this together and didn't quit.
Yeah.
Just stayed in it. Those are things that you see from Georgia, where they scored 19 points in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss. Those are the type of things you see from those type of programs over the years. Just an unbelievable performance. And now, let me mention Oregon because much like the way that I felt about Indiana blowing out Alabama or dominating that game, that's the way I felt about Oregon. You know, we mentioned going into the playoff, I told you the team that I thought that outside of James Madison and Tulane, the one team that I had a ton of questions about that would be one of the first four teams that's going to get knocked out of the bye was Texas Tech. No disrespect to Joey and what he's able to do there with that program because it's been awesome to see just how they have ascended in 1 year. And it looks like with Brendan Sorsby there getting $5 million, they're trying to do the same thing. Cam Coleman is currently visiting there at Texas Tech from Auburn. So they're trying to make sure to find some things that they're deficient in, which is dynamic playmakers. That's their issue. They don't have anything dynamic out there on the perimeter or in the backfield that could kind of give another opponent pause for cause, Patrick. But I've said this, and I'm a big fan of Dan Lanning, one of my favorite college football coaches. They are close. And what better way to make another statement than to be able to play a team that beat you at home, and you have some familiarity with them. But if anybody in their right mind doesn't think Oregon can't win this game, you're crazy. What if Oregon breaks through? They're close. A lot of, as I like to say, pomp and circumstance with Oregon since they've kind of ascended, going back to the Rich Brooks year. You know, Rich Brooks, former coach at Kentucky, used to coach at Oregon, got them to a Rose Bowl in 1994 against Penn State. Chip Kelly kind of puts them on the map with, and of course Phil Knight with the different color uniforms. A lot of, I say pomp and circumstance, right? Recent first college football national championship game with Marcus Mariota, Heisman Trophy winner. They've been dominated by teams that are more physical than them until Dan Lanning got there. And what is lost in Oregon every year, they're getting better and better up front. Offensive, defensive lines, running backs, being able to run the football. Now, I've been on record to say that I think Dante Moore's the best quarterback in college football. Obviously, NFL GMs and personnel and mock draft folks believe the same because they believe he's going to be one of the first two players taken. I like the matchup. Don't like that Crawford, running back, is going to be out for this game for Oregon. However, once again, anyone in their right mind didn't think Oregon can't go in and beat Indiana, you're crazy. I could easily see an Oregon-Miami national championship. I could easily see Oregon winning the national championship. We'll have our picks on that later. But Oregon was just dominant. And really, to be honest, had they not turned it over a couple of times and had some bad plays here, they're like, that could have been even worse than 24-0.
Yeah. I think Texas Tech is exactly where Indiana was at last year. So I would expect them next year to make a lot of noise.
Make another leap. Interesting.
Yeah, because you saw Indiana last year. There were a lot of teams, myself included, that were like, I don't think they should be in the playoff. They played one good team, kind of got blown out, kind of got dominated. They fixed it in one cycle, recruiting cycle with the transfer portal guys. It's exactly what Texas Tech is doing. They have the money. If they get a Cam Coleman, they already got a quarterback that's already started. Exactly, getting like Mendoza going to Indiana. I could see Texas Tech making a deep run next year in the college football playoff.
So here we have our Final Four. Miami and Ole Miss going to kick things off on Thursday. That's going to be at the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. And then on Friday night, we got the rematch, Oregon, Indiana. Give me your picks, and then tell me why. And then I guess we'll hold off for the national championship.
Yeah, because we can have it next week.
We got next year.
I mean, like I said, my heart's going to be torn, but give me Ole Miss and Indiana, a national championship game. I just think narrative-wise, that's the best, right? I mean, because on one hand, you get Lane Kiffin leaves the program because he doesn't, he never said this, but theoretically, the only reason you leave Ole Miss is because you don't think they have as much of an opportunity to win a national championship as you do to go into LSU. And then lo and behold, here they are in your absence in a national championship. And then you have Kirk Cignetti in Indiana going for what's probably the greatest two-year transformation in any kind of sports history. So give me that matchup. And also, like you said, there are dudes. Like Indiana has guys. Like, and Ole Miss has Trinidad Chambliss. And who's to say he doesn't turn in another masterful performance the way he did against Georgia, against Miami? And who are you going to get with Miami? They're playing well right now, but we've seen them not play well this season also. So.
Carson's been outstanding, not making any sort of kind of the big, mistake.
But that could rear its ugly head at any point.
However, all Miami's done is have 3 and 4 as bookends, and they have absolutely wrecked games.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, Ohio State, and more importantly, we don't give 4 in the backfield for Miami enough credit. I'm not even hoping. I guarantee you any GM, director of player personnel within the National Football League is looking at 4 at the running back, a load, and can get away from you too if you get him in some open space. Now, he turned it over, he can cough it up. But their offensive line moves people. Their lines of scrimmage have been impressive. Obviously, the bookends, we know what they're about. We know what Corley can do. Carson Beck has been just so efficient relative to what NFL personnel 24, 36 months ago liked about him, right? And then on the other hand, you have Oregon. Dante Moore threw 2 picks in that contest against Indiana at home, 1 touchdown. Fernando Mendoza threw a pick 6 in that contest. People don't remember. And then also stopped them on a 4th down in that contest. So for me, I really was leaning toward Oregon before the Crawford injury at running back. I'm sorry, Jordan Davison. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Crawford. Jordan Davison. He's rushed for 667, 15 touchdowns this year. But I'm not saying Indiana can't win the game. I just think Oregon's going to find a way. And what I mean by find a way, it's not like, oh my gosh, like there's some Cinderella story. No, Oregon's like these two semifinal games are pick'ems. There should be nobody in their right mind and think like all 4 of them are more than worthy with a national championship. That's how good they are, right?
Yeah.
I like Oregon and I like Miami. And I like Oregon to win their first national championship. Even though I just say we're not going to pick the national championship, I'll just do Oregon, Miami. And if we get to the changes, we'll decide then. But I just in games like this, your Fernando Mendoza, your Dante Moore, your Trinidad Chambliss, and who else am I missing?
For Miami, Carson Beck.
You win this game, you're going to look back and you say, those guys are the reason why they won. Now, I get it. That's part of it. There are going to be moments where those guys are going to have to me, when you get to national championships and college football playoff semifinals and the Final Four, when we have the 14 playoff now with the 12, these are the moments, even in the NFL playoffs, your stars of stars have to really come up with some plays in the game. There's only so much your defensive line, offensive line are going to be able to do, but you're going to have to, even with Fernando Mendoza throwing it less than 25 times a game, it's the efficiency of the throws that he makes, a la the drive against Penn State, coming back against Oregon after the pick six. Dante Moore, didn't play exceptionally well because it was just ridiculous weather conditions at Iowa, but making a absolute dime of a throw to move the chains and keep the drive alive for them to run the clock out. This is where those guys have to come to the forefront because that's what you have them there for. They got to make some plays. And I just think Dante Moore is I think the world of that young man and how good of an anticipatory thrower he is. And even with the pick he threw in the middle of the field against Texas Tech last week, just him being able to being right more times than not. Now, granted, one of those could be the detriment to the game, but I think he's going to play really, really well. Also, remember, they're returning some wide receivers to this contest for Oregon that weren't there in that previous contest. And you saw DeCorian Moore. He's back, highly touted freshman receiver. He's back in the fray there. And, I love Sadiq at tight end. He's a future NFLer. That guy can flat out play as well. So I just think Oregon is more equipped this time around relative to face the physicality of what Indiana wants to bring to the table, that the explosives for Oregon have to be there relative to them not being there in that first meeting. I think they're going to connect on a handful of explosives, and that's going to kind of pull them away. But I think it's a 3.5 point line. I think Indiana's favored by 3.5. So, yeah, I'll go with Oregon, and then I'll go with Miami just because I believe the defense is going to rue the day. And I think Carson Beck will continue to do what he does, is being efficient. I hate to tell everybody, newsflash, being a game manager is awesome, especially when you're winning.
Yeah.
And I think that their offensive line is so good, and I think Fletcher is going to have a nice day. I'll do Oregon, Miami, and pick my Oregon to win a national championship. Obviously, we'll pick the national championship regardless of who it is next week. But you like in the national championship who?
I like Indiana.
You like Indiana to win it all?
Yeah.
They're good. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. Who's the team out of the four that you'd be surprised, the most surprised relative to the four elite programs that's still in it to win a national championship?
I think it would probably be Ole Miss.
It'd be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
It'd be Ole Miss.
But that's who I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
I want to see an Ole Miss hoist the trophy.
What a story, man.
I mean,
what a story that'd be for that state. Proud state, man.
I mean, that's, again, I don't think, they've kept it a little bit under wraps what happened in those hours leading up to Lane Kiffin's exit. We've heard rumors. Apparently there was a big verbal altercation between him and Pete Golden.
Which I can see.
Yeah, I could see. Somebody's going to write a book, and Pete Golden's going to write a book, and the cover of that book would look really awesome if it's just him holding a national championship trophy in 20 years.
Man.
You know what I mean? Talking about what this season was.
Right.
Not even the whole season, right? What the last, a month and a half was.
What a story.
What a story it would be. So, yeah, Ole Miss has my heart, but I do think Indiana has shown they have been the best team throughout the entire season, and I just think that continues.
Will be interesting to see. Super excited about that. We will return back here next week. Super excited about these games. I'm pumped, man, because I just think they're going to be two quality games. And I think you got two coaching staffs and just the players, everyone. I think that when you look at a semifinal like this, the cool part about it is everyone's just done their job. And I know it's a cliche throwaway, but legitimately, if you have watched these teams in a sicko for college football like myself, Patrick, they don't make relative to this point of the year for them to get there. They haven't made any mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. And you've kind of got every little part of the country, right? You got an out west team, Midwest team.
It's amazing why they made this 12-team college playoff. And the very reason why they're going to go to 16, and we're going to maybe grow it a little more. And
by the way, 16 is probably a good number, because who's to say a team like Vanderbilt might not, or Texas might not have got in
win a couple of games
and
got hot. Correct. I think they're going to go to 16. I think they're going to vote on this. They're supposed to vote on it in the coming weeks. I think that they'll announce it. I don't know if it can make it happen next year. They could, but for sure in 27, no question, there will be a 16-team playoff.
I mean, with the NIL and transfer portal, I think you can legitimately say they are probably going forward going to be somewhere between 8 to 12 teams that every year that have a legitimate shot to win a national championship.
Because of said rosters and newsflash, strength of schedule, because teams are non-conference and you're going to play people because you can't afford to have a soft non-conference slate relative to the 8 and now 9 game conference slates that these programs are going to have to endure moving forward in the coming years. So that's why those non-con games are so imperative now, because you're playing good on good, brand, it matters. And that's why I think fans are more in tune with college football, and college football is on a rocket ship, whether you believe it or not, with all of the money, NIL and whatnot, because fans believe they still have a chance in that key word, hope, that you believe that my team can get into the playoff, get hot, and make a run. What better way to say that if Indiana holds that national championship trophy on January 19? It's going to open up the door that everyone can do it. Just even a mindset, even if you don't believe you can or feasibly you can't, it's just the mindset that you possibly could do that relative to the proper resources, proper coaching, development, evaluation, schematics to be able to get guys to be able to do what is needed to potentially get you to that point. So I'm super, super excited, man. Going to be really, really fun. Glad we're back. First pod of the new year. We got some really cool stuff in store. We'll be back to video in the coming weeks. Super excited about that. You get to see Patrick's new look. I mean, I'm talking looks like a little European model out here. That's what he looks like.
Oh, that's a compliment. I'll take that.
Looks like he'll be out there in Sweden on the cover of something, like a music exec or producer or something like that. That's what he looks like. Amanda don't like your boots, so go ahead and take them back.
No, I can't. I like them.
Okay.
I like them.
I try to give you another album, big dog. You didn't take it.
They got a zipper on the side. They look cool. I like them.
You didn't take it. Before we go, how much food did you eat for Christmas?
A lot.
Boy, I'm
on a diet right now.
I was
so
off
yeah,
the chain.
A lot.
I was just eating just to eat.
Yeah, I gotta get
All
this weight
the finest
down.
meats and cheeses.
Yeah, I gotta get the weight down. A little heavy for
That's all right.
for what I am.
That's what we look forward
Strong but heavy.
to. Strong but heavy.
So strong but lean is where we're going.
I'm not mad at it. Like, subscribe. We're back. Leave us a comment here in 2026. We have enjoyed doing this for the last year and a half. We're going on 2 years in July of this year. But just thrilled to have a chance to talk college football. The playoffs have been excellent. Next week, we'll recap these games. We'll really dive into the NFL. Playoffs will begin this weekend.
There's an Alabama quarterback that just declared, allegedly.
Yeah,
so.
and we didn't even talk. Ty Simpson has allegedly officially declared. Quick, your thoughts on this?
I think that's a mistake. He should get in the portal and go somewhere. If he's not going to be the starting quarterback at Alabama, he needs to get in the portal. Much like I said, Quinn Ewers last year should have gotten in the portal. He needs another year development. He's a one-year starter. I just don't see a lot of NFL teams coming off the heels of guys like Anthony Richardson and the like who haven't started a lot of games. I don't see that the trend going forward for rookie quarterbacks. You look at the guys who've been successful, guys like Bo Nix. They've just played a ton of college football. These NFL teams don't really have time anymore to wait to develop guys. I think if you were even the Dante Moores of the world and the Ty Simpsons, I think better suited, come back, make somewhere between $3 to $7 million, go to a program, develop one more year, then come out to the draft. I think that's the way to go.
How interesting and how ironic would it be a guy like Dante Moore, who's projected to be one of the top 2 quarterbacks, stays, and Ty Simpson, who's projected to be the 3rd guy off the board and has not, apparently from reports from his dad, who's a college football coach at Martin in Tennessee, he's not gotten any word that his son will not fall out of the first round. Dante stays because he's going to be at Oregon, and Ty goes. Like, that's the irony of it all. But I guess if you're Ty Simpson, he probably says to himself, and to be brutally honest, you go somewhere else, but like how much better can it get outside of, obviously lining your pocket of you reaching the draft stock that you can heading into 2026, 2027. So it's a good point that you make. But I think that unfortunately for him, he's kind of it's a catch-22. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. I'm going to be a first-round draft pick this year, and I'm going to make a lot of money, more money than I would moving to the portal. But will that translate into success wherever I go? So it's hard to say. And then if you're Dante Moore, you want to go to the Jets?
Well, that's the thing. And like, as we get further into this evaluation, I know Ty Simpson's probably gotten word it's a first-round pick. I don't see that. The way that I saw Jackson Dart last year potentially being a first-round pick. And again, it could surprise us. But, I think as the process, the evaluation goes forward, listen, I don't know. He did not have a very good game against Indiana. A lot of people don't have good games against Indiana, though. And there was a stretch in the middle of the season where we came on this podcast and talked about Ty Simpson potentially being a Heisman favorite, being the story of the season. That did not pan out the further it goes. So maybe a bunch of scouts are looking at the middle of the season and being like, hey, this is kind of what he can do. We can mold him to be that. But one of these quarterbacks who are going to be thought of, even at the late first round, is going to end up coming back to college because there's going to be too much money there.
Too much money on the table. Yeah, super excited to talk NFL next week as well. We'll talk more college football. So many transfer portal guys moving to new programs. A ton to talk about there as well. But just glad to get back going with our podcast. But yeah, as I mentioned, like, subscribe. We are on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We'll have this released this week. You can listen to it as we get ready for the college football playoff Thursday and Friday. Super pumped about that. And we will see you back here next week. For producer Pat, I'm Carl Prather. Enjoy the games. And we'll talk more take after take coming up next week.